Good evening. On behalf of that place you have seen in the film as the son of Yarmouk camp, I'd like to welcome you. I won't be long. We'll read only 2 poems. And we'd like to present and dedicate these poems to the soul of the main character in the film, to Hassan, who died in the prison under torture. The authority just phoned his father and told him, your son has died. And he was dead about maybe 2 or 3 months before they informed his family. Just imagine in your minds how his father, his mother, his wife, Wa'ad, how they receive a news like this, how they accept it in their mind. They do not even know where is the body of their beloved one. They do not even know where he was buried, or even maybe know. They didn't say goodbye to him. Nobody touched his head or gave kisses to his cheeks when he submitted his soul. Nobody knows exactly how much pain he felt in his body and in his spirit before he leave this world. And this isn't only happened to this guy, to Hassan. This happened to thousands of Syrian and Palestinians in Syria, killed by the regime just because they said we want a little bit of freedom. I'll read the first stanza of the poem I wrote for the film, and we'll read the complete poem, and we'll read another poem for the Yarmouk refugee camp. We'll read in Arabic and English. هنا اليرموك، هنا اليرموك يا قمرا سيمحو نوره ليل الحصار، على عتباتك البيضاء تهزم بسمة الأطفال أوجاع احتضاري، ويحييني دم الشهداء، وأنهل من رضا الحجات أنغام انتصاري. هنا اليرموك أغنيتي وأمنيتي وشوقي للديار. هنا اليرموك، هنا اليرموك. This is Alyarmouk, where the light of your moon will wipe the darkness of the siege, where the children's smiles will vanquish the pains of my demise. On your white doorsteps, where the martyr's blood will breathe life back into me, and through the blessings of old mothers I'll create the melodies of my triumph. This is Alyarmouk, my song, my desire, my yearning to my homeland. This is Alyarmouk. هنا اليرموك ثانية وثالثة وعاشرة وألفا، فلسطينية قسماته، سورية حاراته، جدرانه الشبقات تعكس صورتي شاما وحيفا، على أبوابه السمراء أدمن جسمي العاري التحاف شتائه، وأفاء صيفا. هنا اليرموك حيث تنشقت روحي الكرامة من حكايات العجائز فيه، وامتشقت على الأنذال سيفا. هنا اليرموك ضحكة طفلة 50 عاما أرجعتني للوراء، محلقا كحمائم الأموي فوق نوافذ الأقصى، يرف القلب رفا. هنا اليرموك عاصمة الشتات المر، هنا اليرموك عاصمة الشتات المر، رائحة الجدود إذا مضوا وإن حضروا تسربل بالهوى كما وكيف. هنا اليرموك يصرخ خافقي، يا ليتني بمقابر الشهداء كنت اليوم ضيفا. This is Alyarmouk for second, third, 10th and 1000th time. This is Alyarmouk. Palestinian are his features, Syrian are his alleyways. His lusty walls reflect my picture, Damascus and Haifa. This is Alyarmouk, where my naked body became addicted to the dovies of his winters and sought his shade in the summer. This is Alyarmouk, where my soul inhaled the dignity from his grandmother's tale like a sword against enemies. This is Alyarmouk, where the laughter of a wee girl would return me back to my childhood, flying with my heart fluttering like the doves of Damascus over the windows of Jerusalem. This is Alyarmouk, the capital of our bitter diaspora, the smell of our grandfathers in their absence, overwhelmed with love in their presence. This is Alyarmouk, where my heart screams, oh, if only I was a guest in your martyrs' cemetery. This another poem for Alyarmouk as well, and for every Palestinian refugee camp in the neighboring countries of Palestine and everywhere in the world, called This Camp is My Laughter. لمخيم في صدره تتوافد الطلقات، في ظهره تتوالد الطعنات، هذه القصائد والقبل، هذه الأناشيد التي تعدو خيولا نحو ساحات الأمل. لمخيم حر بطل أسرجت أخيلتي، وشحذت قافيتي، وكتبت أغنيتي بلهيب أنفاسي ومداد أوردتي. هذا المخيم ضحكتي، هذا المخيم ضحكتي، حريتي وفضاء أغنيتي، ورائحة الذين أحبهم ذهبوا، وظل القلب مشدودا إلى خطواتهم، وحل الأزقة والندى والروح مدت جنحها، وهمت على قسماتهم، لثمت تسابيح الهدى. الله يا ليل المخيم كم جميل، قمر لكل زقاق، عرس ولا أحلى، وقصائد يختال في ترديدها العشاق، وحكاية تتلى، وعجائز ينساب من كلماتها الترياق، ومواسم حبلى، وعرائس ترنو لبحر عيونها الأعماق، فرحانة جذلى وطفولة تشتاق خفة روحها الآفاق، تسمو إلى الأعلى وبنادق وعناق، والقلب كم صلى لمخيم خلى لحجارة أحداق. الله يا ليل المخيم كم جميل، كم يا حبيب الروح قهرك مستحيل. This camp is my laughter. For a Palestinian refugee camp, a chest riddled by bullets and countless stabs embroidering its back. These poems and kisses, these songs, galloping horses of hope. For a heroic camp, I saddled my rhymes, gave rein to my imaginations, marshaled my words, and wrote this chant with my fiery breath and the ink of my veins. This camp, host to my laughter, my freedom, my lyric, and to the smell of my beloved, they took their leave, leaving the heart bereft, longing for the sound of their footsteps, for the mud of alleys and lanes, for the early morning dew, the soul, the spirit, fluttering, spreading its wings to gently stroke and kiss their heavenly, divine faces. Beloved camp, how charming is your night, a moon adorning each alley, a joyous festival, its beauty hard to surpass. Enraptured lovers, reciting, exchanging love poems, love stories and odes. Grandmothers, words spilling out of their lips like a balm, summoning auspicious season. Brides, the color of their doleful eyes, plays havoc with longing raptured lovers. Children, their lightness of spirit, the envy of the heavens, rifles, hugs, and hearts in prayer for a camp that has conferred eyes on stones. Beloved camp, how charming is your night, how impossible is your defeat. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Iyad Hayatleh, as you've heard, is a Palestinian poet. He's also a translator, was born and grew up in Yarmouk, Syria. He's lived in Glasgow since 2000 and has taken part in many events, including translation and poetry workshops. He's given many readings nationwide, including at the Edinburgh International Book Festival, and published some of his poems in magazines and collected poetry books in Scotland in both languages, Arabic and English. His first collection was published by Survivors Press in 2007 called Beyond All Measure. He's collaborated with poet Tessa Ransford on a two-way translation for a book, Rug of a Thousand Colours, with poems inspired by the 5 Pillars of Islam, published by Lewith Press in September 2012. He's featured on BBC radio programmes and gained other media exposure in the Scottish press. His current work often looks at exile and exploring a new country, trying to look at the identity from different angles in terms of belonging to more than one place. Axel Salvatori-Sinz, born in 1982, grew up in the suburbs of Lyon, France. After completing an anthropology curriculum specialising in Arabic and Muslim societies, he obtained a master's degree in directing documentary films. He directed several commissioned films for the French embassy while staying in Salvador. The Shebabs of Yarmouk is his first full-length documentary. So thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Axel, you've come from Paris today and you've been on tour with the film, I understand. I wondered if you could begin by telling us a little bit about what brought you to Yarmouk and what led you to make a film about Yarmouk.
Okay, so hello to everybody and thanks to be here. So first maybe I just wanted to excuse me for my French accent, and I hope that it will be easy for you to understand. And to be honest, I was a bit anxious about your Scottish accent too. So I hope that I will also understand after for your questions. So I've been to Yarmouk first in 2006. At that time, so like Poppy was telling it, that I was working like an anthropologist, and especially about like the involvement of the young Palestinian refugees in Syria. And I'm arrived in Damascus, and little by little I'm arrived in Yarmouk camp, and little by little I'm arrived in a cultural center who was proposing activities for Palestinian youngs of the camp. It was like video and photos and theater, a place to just to create and to have a place to perform for the youngs. And I've met the Shebabs, the characters of the film, to this place. We were really close because we were like of the same age, more or less. I was like some years younger from them, but in the same way we were also close because I wanted also to continue making films and make documentary films, and we were hoping to also to travel and to discover the world, and also to live making films, because like both of them, like Allah is the one who is going to Chile, and Samer is the guy with the curly hair on the roof with Tasnim. Tasnim is the girl with the black hair. Waed is the girl, is the bird of Hassan, and Hassan is the one who's talking about theater at the beginning of the film. And so with Allah and Samer, we were closer because they wanted to make films too, and Hassan wanted to work about theater, and so we find this situation to be close. And when I'm going back in 2009, because I left Syria in 2007, and going back there, I wanted to make my first film with them, and it was a good way it was like an excuse to pass time with them to make this film. And finally, when I'm going back, the problematic about the military service was still happening, and because even in 2006 there was the same problem, because but everyone is finding a way to escape. So first you could make study to escape to the military service, and after you have to pay. And because if you don't make your military service, you can't find a job, to be married, you can't just to fix your administrative stuff. And when I'm going back in 2009, there was Hassan who decided to make his military service. And at that time he was engaged with Waed, and he had to left his family place to find a job and to find money for the future family who was coming, and so the social pressure, the family pressure, make it doing his military service. And like we saw it in the film, it's the only one who want to stay there and to build his life to his place. And in the same way, there was the two other friends, Allah and Samer, who were still trying to find a way to escape. And so this situation gave me the more or less the script, or give me the. It's why I wanted to tell this story.
Great, thank you. Iyad, will you correct me? I think I said that you were born in Yarmouk, but I think you were maybe moved there when you were 4, right?
5 maybe.
Yeah. So you stayed there until you were maybe 40, if I'm correct. So could you maybe tell us a bit about what the camp means to you?
Yeah, I was born in 1960 in another Palestinian refugee camp near a city of Homs, which I believe you already hear about it too much in the news. And we moved from the camp in Homs called Mukhayyam al-Aidin, or the returnee camp. It was named like this because people have or had a dream at that time to return to Palestine. And we moved to Yarmouk in 1966. I was about 6 years old, and I left Yarmouk in 2000 to come to Britain. Mukhayyam al-Yarmouk, and I believe every other Palestinian refugee camp, means to the people living there a little Palestine for them. Because once you open your eyes and you start to understand the life around you, you see the streets and alleyways in the camp carrying the names of villages and cities in Palestine. You see the schools in the camp carrying the names of cities and villages in Palestine, along with the names of martyrs who died and sacrificed their souls for the sake of Palestine. And I don't have many words to add on what Hassan and the other guys in the film said about the camp. It's really a little Palestine for everybody. It is a first station in the Palestinian refugees diaspora, and supposed to be the last station for their diaspora as well before returning to Palestine. The problem now is, because of how the Syrian regime handled the Syrian revolution, is many Palestinian camps in Syria, they are no longer anymore, and their people are displaced again either in Syria itself or in neighboring countries, and some of them managed to arrive to safe countries like Europe or other places. So for the Palestinian who used to have a dream of return to Palestine, they have another dream now, to return first to their camps and after that to return to Palestine. So this is Alyarmouk, especially Alyarmouk, because it is it's part of Damascus. I wouldn't say it's near to Damascus. Yarmouk is part of the city of Damascus, on the south side of the city. And in this camp, as I said in my poems, Palestinian features and Syrian alleyways. In this camp you can smell the mixture of Damascene jasmine with the Palestinian thyme, with الزعتر الفلسطيني, and there is a mixture of the accents as well, between the Damascene accent or Palestinian accent. It is not a most beautiful place in the world, I wouldn't say that. The life wasn't rosy over there, but at least it is a place that we are, the sons of this camp, we love and admire.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to invite any comments or questions or anything anyone would like to say or ask.
I hope no.
Yes.
How do people make their living in the camps? I apologize for not understanding that, but how do they buy food and furniture?
Do you mean now?
Now and then, let's say.
Or before, the camp is not a camp. There's no tents over there. The camp was established on an area in the south side of Damascus, nearly in 1956, 1957. Palestinian refugees were staying in other parts of the city, in Damascus or other parts of Syria, were given pieces of lands to build their houses with support, of course, of UNRWA, the United Nations Agency for Work and Relief for Palestinians, and with support from the Syrian government at that time, who gave like a resolution or a decision or a law in Syria, in Syrian, saying that Palestinians in Syria gave rights to the Palestinian as same as the Syrian, except the right of taking part in the elections. That happened in 1954 maybe, or 1956. This law was passed by a Syrian parliament at that time, where when there was a real democracy in Syria. So the camp hold only the name of the camp, only Mukhayyam. It is just like any other public suburb in the city. Yes, not the best one, or just where the work-class people live, the poor people live, streets and alleyways, houses, concrete houses, nearly same as any other part of the city. And people, and by the way, not only the Palestinians were living in that area. The population of that area, just before 3 years ago, it was about 1 million or 1,200,000 from a population of Damascus, which is maybe 5 or 6 millions maybe. Only 200,000 Palestinians in this area, which called the camp, and the rest are Syrians. And people doing their living by working, having shops, or working like any other people. But now, as a result of the camp being in a place in the capital, couldn't prevent intervening in the Syrian revolution or Syrian situation now. The camp was hit many times by the Syrian government forces. First time, or the biggest time, was on 16th of December 2012, when hit by a jet airplane, or a MiG, a Russian MiG, and many people died. There was a battles on the outskirts of the camp between the Syrian government forces and the Syrian Free Army, or the opposition forces. And after that raid from the MiG, people felt unsafe in this area. They started to leave the area, Syrians and Palestinians together, which we called it, as Bobby said in the beginning, it's like a second Nakba. A few months later, the Syrian government, so this area became out of the control of the Syrian regime, with only like a little population in it because most of the people left. After that, the Syrian regime imposed a total blockade and siege around this area. Now only maybe between 10 to 20,000 people living over there under a total siege, no electricity, no water. They depend on the living to get food from the hands out, where some international organizations or local organizations try to deliver food to them on the borders of the camp. And last year, many people, about 160, 170 people died due to starvation. Another people died from snipers, another people died from bombardment, another people captured and stayed in jails until they died. So the camp, to the people who know Damascus, like Axel and other people here in the hall, was one of the most vibrant part of the city, and now it is totally a ghost city only. And I would say with nearly 60% of its buildings totally destroyed, ruins on the ground. Thank you.
Yep, we have a question over here.
Axel. First of all, it's an excellent film. I really enjoyed it. It's going to be absolutely devastating. I was interested in your decision to ask the people to write and then recite to camera their thoughts, or was that letters or statements? Why did you decide to do that, and did they find it difficult doing that?
So the question was, I asked them to talk in front of the camera, like about the poems about Yarmouk, or?
Or when they'd written.
Yeah.
to recite?
I would say because first, because one of the conditions of this footage was that people are not able to make films in Syria, so it was I was not allowed to go in the street and to shoot the streets. So it's why I find this way to use the terrace or the up of the building. And I find characters we were living on the top, and so I find this way to shoot the camp, and I wanted that to create the camp like also like a character, to give him like a more personal life, and I wanted that the audience could understand what was this camp finally without seeing it, really seeing it. And I find this way to ask them to write about the camp, about their feeling. And it wasn't so easy because it looked like work, school work. Mm-hmm. And so each time it was really difficult to ask them to okay, did you make it? And and so I was running to get it, and finally they done it.
I've got a question that you maybe shouldn't ask a director, but a lot of the scenes they just seemed so natural, but at the same time, it felt like a script. You know, the when they talk about going and leaving, and then they talk about the birds. I mean, how did you set up these kind of really intimate interactions between people? Was any of the scenes kind of, okay, let's talk about this, and was it scripted in any way, or?
It was a script because the film is scripted, but the dialogues were not scripted. So it means that that, by example, there's some sequences where I was, I don't know, by the sequence with the father, by example, when Hassan and his father are talking about the difference between the second and the third generation. This sequence, I ask them to talk about this subject. So, of course, the second will never happen. It was the first time they start to talk about that, and Hassan was really enjoying this talking with his father just after. And it will never happen if I hadn't asked them to talk about that. But this, and there was different by another example, like they are in military clothes. My intervention at the end, when Samer and Hassan are talking to the boss with the military clothes, I'm just asking them to keep their military clothes. By example, that they are going back from the military and they have a break during 2 hours, and of course they are not dressed. When they go out in the street, they are ashamed to be military, so they don't keep their clothes. But when they're going back at home, I just ask them to put them again, and just to shoot the break and the eating during their break. And when they are on the roof, by example, Samer and Tasnim, I just choose the place. Tasnim left Syria during 6 months. She was going back doing all the films because she had his boyfriend living in Sicily at that time, that she met in Yarmouk. He was living in Yarmouk, and he decided to left, and so she gets, it's the only one in the film, she's born with the German nationality that his father get 30 years ago, so she have this possibility to move, and she use it to visit his boyfriend, and when she's going, but finally she don't find his way in Europe. She don't arrive to stay there, she don't arrive to stay in Yarmouk, she's like totally lost in this process because she don't arrive to build herself in Europe. She don't arrive to stay with the Shebabs, and finally, when she's going back, and she met Samer on the roof, they were supposed to meet themselves inside, because they don't used to go on the up of the roof to talk, because they used to smoke hashish, and they used to be relaxed, and on the roof they're all the neighbor. So of course it's not the quiet place to be relaxed, but they accept, because I asked them to go on the roof because I wanted to be outside and also to play with the interaction with the area, and so it was this kind of my intervention with them. But finally, I was also living every day with them, and I was following their rhythm of life. So it's why they give me a lot, because I get their confiance, and they accept the way to be shot. Like I wasn't shooting every day, just that we were sharing time together, and I used to put the camera for all the moments she was outside. So it was meaning that finally, if I decide to shoot, I can shoot, and they were prepared to this, and it was the way.
Yeah.
So that's, what did the most thing you liked about the camp, and what did you learn from your experience?
I don't know. I would say that I'm totally fall in love with the camp, and I think that we can feel that I've passed a lot of times on the roof and filming the camp and trying to coach all the small details and I think that the main things that I was really appreciate with this band of youngs, with the Shebabs, it was that they were sharing everything. Like finally, they used to, even if we can't go outside because I wasn't able to shoot because we had to ask permission, authorization, and if we get the permission, we will get the services, the secret agencies looking us what we were talking about and doing. So it's why I find this way I decide to make the film without permission. I mean that finally they don't go in the streets, they go in the street just to go from one point to another. They find this small area between friends and they share their times together in this small community that they built themselves. And I was really impressed about all the small rules that they get together in their circle of friends, and that all was there wasn't propriety. Yeah. I mean that something was on the table and it's for everyone, and you share everything. And I think it's this point that I was really focused on.
Yeah.
It's a question for Axel. You capture really well that sense of waiting, and I myself felt quite frustrated at times, you know, as they continued to wait. Was that an intentional thing that you were looking for as you were filming, or was it something that came out during the editing, creating that sense with the film of the frustration and the waiting? Because there were periods where it was just them smoking or sitting, waiting for the next thing to happen.
Mm-hmm. But there wasn't a question.
Was it editorial, or did it come out while you were filming the story? Was it at the end when you sort of decided to, was it something you decided during the filming or afterwards to leave those?
No.
So the feeling of waiting in the film, was it directorial or was it just come out itself? That's the way it was, or was it your vision
yeah.
to make it?
I don't know, like like I was saying in the first question, like I feel myself very close of them because we get the same age and with the same questions. And finally I find a team of youngs like with the same question of me at that time. And of course in the film we get this impression that they are waiting, but because they are waiting. And they are waiting to get a passport, they are waiting to find a way to escape to the military service. And so at that time they wasn't so creative. They were creative later, at the beginning of the events, because the positive point of the events finally is that it gives more freedom to people to express their self. And by example, Hassan finally he has been arrested because he was part of a comic show who was published on YouTube, and he was denouncing what was happening at that time in the camp. And they were create a lot, and finally during all the films they are waiting to find a way to go out. And when the events came, they create, because they all have a project about documentary films. Today, by example, they are all editing their film, and they, yeah, it was a positive point.
I'm wondering how you two got connected. I mean, this is the first time you've met today, but Iyad wrote the lyrics for the song. How did that happen?
Yeah, by the way, this is the first time we we met, Axel and I. I remember in 2012, nearly in September 2012, a Palestinian lady, singer, lives in London, called Reem Kilani, who done the music for the film and sang the song. And unfortunately, she couldn't be with us today. She's my friend. She contacted me saying there is a French director making a film about the Shebabs in Yarmouk camp, and I need you to write a short poem for me to sing within only like 1 minute. I said, yeah, okay, but I need to see the film to come with an idea. Yeah, she sent me a copy of the film. It wasn't, I don't think, or I don't remember exactly. Of course, there was no subtitle, nothing, and the film was only like in its basic copy. I saw the film for first time, second time. I really, in some shots of the film, I cried. I couldn't recognize like any area of the camp because most of the whole film was done indoors. But I remembered myself when I was in the camp in the same situation of these young people with big dreams in our minds and no possibilities to achieve them. By the way, I would say something about the waiting in the film. People in Syria, Palestinians and Syrians, have nothing to do but to wait. And what they wait, they don't know. They don't know. Most of the people, most of them just wait. You can't achieve the things over there directly or quickly. And maybe they were waiting for this revolution when unfortunately the whole world now is standing against it. So when I saw the film, I came with the idea, with a poem. I wrote the poem and sent it to Reem. She sent me back the first or the basic recording. And a few months later, they set up the song on the film, and I started to contact and get in touch with Axel since that time, but today was the first time we meet. When I was talking in the poem about the siege, there was no siege in the camp, no realistic siege. The effect of Syrian revolution was in the camp was in its least percentage. And I was talking about the siege. I see the siege of dreams, the obstacles that being put in front of young people dreams. So I was talking exactly about this. As I saw myself, and I saw myself with the conflict over many years to stay in the camp or to leave, to travel, to leave, till I managed to get to this country. And after that, the siege of the camp happened and blockade, and people started to die due to starvation. And some people, to be honest, said to me that was like the vision of the poet, to write about something would happen in the future. This is the story.
Keith, yeah.
I thought the film was wonderful, and so well done, very well done. But the thing that held me in the film early on, and it's a feeling I've often had in refugee camps, in the Palestinian refugee camps in different places and on the West Bank, is the way that, and it came out in the dialogue, the way that people who live there experience that camp as a place that's confining and oppressive, as in the conversation when they were on the roof. But it's also a place they love. And so you have this incredible tension which was coming out all the time early on, that's a little bit like a lover, you know, who you can't be around and yet you can't leave. I mean, you're gonna. That's for sure. But that wonderful tension which I find is in Palestinian life, in the diaspora, and I thought you captured that brilliantly, and that's a condition that I find, as I say, I've experienced on so many occasions. But the thing that really worried me at the end, when you start to think about the time factor and what followed the film, was the way that refugee camps like Yarmouk are little centres or little Palestines, and that, as Iyad spoke about, the smell of certain herbs, the language, certain words for affection that you hear, and what kept running through my mind as we got to the end of the film was the centre of collective memory has been smashed again. It's been broken, and so you find yourself thinking, apart from everything that's been smashed in Syria, everything that's been just levelled, you think about this wonderful collective memory that Palestinians have managed to keep going, and that's somehow been on your way again. So I just to reiterate, it was a wonderful film and well done. And I always love the stuff.
Oh, yes, I would say what happened in the Yarmouk is a real catastrophe. Second Nakba, really. Yeah, this memory, this collective memory, this sense of Palestine, the smell of people who used to live in the camp and they left, all gone now. But by the way, still to be optimistic, the Palestinians started their living from under the zero after 1948, and they have the ability to start again. And the camp itself, it's not a holy place. It's an idea. You can take it with you wherever you go. Many Palestinians now manage to arrive to Germany, to Netherlands, to Sweden. Many of them, unfortunately, Palestinians and Syrians together. died drowning in the sea, in the Mediterranean. So these people would, who at least managed to stay alive somewhere else, would carry the idea of their places, the idea of their homes, whether they were living in camps in Syria or in cities or in villages. And they will start again, will build their living from under the zero again. And the time will come for them to achieve something, either by returning to Syria again, to build the country after get rid of the dictators, not only in Syria, in the whole of the Arabic world, I would say, from Morocco to Iraq to Saudi Arabia to the Gulf. There's no one governor is better than the other. So people will carry their dreams and start their life again, bringing up their children. As, for example, our grandfathers and fathers, they brought up of the love of Palestine, and they, from a personal experience, I would say, like when my grandfather, because my father, when he left Palestine, he was only 14. So my grandfather told me about Palestine, about our village. My grandmother did as well. Other old people in the camp. So I built my Palestine in my mind. And what happened last year in the summer, I visited Palestine, thankfully due to the British passport. Yeah, I visited Palestine and I went to the village where my father and my grandfathers were born. And it was a first time I go over there, but I had the vision and the image of the village in my mind, just because of the way that the generation before me conveyed the story of that land to me. And this will happen to the new generations of Syrian and Palestinian who left the camp and left Damascus and other areas. So their fathers, their mothers will tell them about a dreamland they used to live in, and about a dreamland that will still waiting for them to return.
Axel, would you like to say anything in response to Keith?
No, just to complete also this idea that finally all the characters of the film they have lost like everything, and even like the parents who lost their house. And I mean that like in Syria, like with the Palestinian refugee status, they just get finally the wall, and so they lost everything, because even the earth, they don't get the propriety of the earth. And so, by example, some of characters have been refugees, Palestinians, refugees from Syria, refugees in Lebanon. So it's that and it's some example between a lot of all the Syrians and Palestinians from Syria. And now they are starting a new life in France where they get asylum. And finally, when because the film is released in theater in France actually, and we get this opportunity, who was one of the main goals when I start with this film, who was to present the film together. And after 5 years, finally, this dream became true, and we are traveling together with Samer, in France presenting the film, and he get a lot of questions of the audience who asking him finally where he would like to go now, like or to be, and like Palestinians, if he would like to go back to Palestine, and each time he's just answering that he didn't get anymore the right to go back to Palestine. He didn't get the right anymore to go back to Syria. So it started to be two countries where he can't go back, and just now he's just thinking to build himself in a new place like Europe and like France, and just thinking to this, because during the last 4 years he lived his worst moment of his life, and so inshallah that he will get it.
Any other comments or questions? Yes.
I'll make a comment. I was interested in the part of the film where the person said he changed his Arabic name when he went to America. And I know from first-hand experience that that's what young Palestinians do. I would love to see a film about European, including Britain and American, anti-Palestinian sentiment actually in action, how it affects them, because this young man who is Ahmed from Durristy on the West Bank, I've been there a lot in the past. First time I phoned him in America, San Diego, I got the answering service in his voice, in an American voice. This Palestinian boy, when I spoke to him, didn't have an American accent. He put it on. He had brothers older that lived in America for years, and they're saying to him, "Oh, you have to do that. Don't call yourself Ahmed, call yourself Adam." And I remember sitting there saying, is there no end to the persecution of these people? Where can you go in the world to be yourself? That's the grumble I wanted to say.
Right.
If you can't be yourself, who the hell can you be?
Everyone else is
People
taken.
can tell you where to live in that corner of the earth, in that corner of the Middle East, whether you like it or not. But these people are actually telling, this is politicians of course, the trickle-down effect and other interpretation, that these are dodgy people, and Palestinians are nothing if not smart, and so they become Adam, Robert, John. Despicable.
Have you got a question for?
No, you
okay.
think I'm a very grumpy
Come in.
lady? There's a question. No, you said an observation.
Yes.
That's an observation.
No. Thank
my
you
dear.
very much. Thank you very much. Okay, I think that's us for tonight. I'd like to thank everyone for their comments and questions. Please do come back to next month's film. It's going to be the last in the series, and we'll hopefully have some drinks and food. We're going to have A View From Here, which is a film by the Scottish Refugee Council and Basharat Khan, as well as Migrant Voices Films, which is a celebration of migrant stories around Europe, including here in the UK. So we're going to move out probably and have a drink afterwards, as we always do after the GRAMNet films. Please stick around. I'd just like to thank Iyad and Axel, our two speakers, and for coming.
Thank you.